Okay, welcome to the Free Friday coaching call. Just a little background for how this call got started. The infamous Mr. Rick Jiha over the years had a habit of telling everyone that they could call him for anything that they might need in the real estate world. And he gave out his phone number, as could be evidenced by the over 25,000 people in his phone, which I'm still working on getting out of that phone. And everyone would call him and he would call everyone back and text back and forth for all of the things that they might possibly need in real estate. And that over time led to the implementation of what we now call the Free Friday coaching call, where he would either himself personally help coach people on what they might need. And then over time, that also grew into us bringing industry leaders on these calls to discuss something that was, pertinent to them or that they were passionate about that they felt like they would want to share with other real estate folks in the industry. And that led us to bringing the wonderful Tracey McNeely to today's call. I personally love Tracey McNeely as well. She's a fellow coach at Workman Success. She has known Rick for a long, long time as well. She's 20 years in the industry. She has led her own real estate team in the past. We are super excited because today she works with us at the Rick Jiha real estate team as a listing partner. So we're very happy to have her with us. She is deeply involved with Silvar locally in the East Bay area. Deeply involved with just making sure that she is committed to changing the industry still today. She is a mother of some amazing children as well. Some other amazing things about her. She is an Iron Man. I joke and say I only run when zombies chase me. She does some pretty amazing things. Let's see. I'm trying to think of anything else crazy, amazing about all of the things are amazing about Tracey. She's she's here today to talk to us about the Oz principle. So, Tracey, anything else that you would like to share personally about you before we get started?
No, I too am. I've been in the Bay Area for close to 32 years now. I can't believe it. I'm like, what? So yeah, just working here in Silicon Valley for these past 20 years in real estate. One crazy thing I did while I was training for some of my triathlon events is I did do the Alcatraz challenge swim. So you swim from Alcatraz to Crissy Field across the bay. So I did that with my daughter and I did it together, actually, along with 400 other people. But yeah, we did that. So
Oh,
that's one other crazy thing we've done.
holy moly. I mean, talk about commitment, right? Talk
Yeah.
about commitment.
Mind over matter mostly. So anyway, I am honored and thrilled to be here today with all of you. And thank you all for taking the time out of your very busy schedules and day to day to just come and learn a little bit about something that's made a difference in my life. And I know that we talk about accountability, organization, what can we do to like get ourselves going in the right direction. Most of the time, it's all up in here and we can't get it out. And we are individually making ourselves unaccountable to ourselves. We'll have thoughts that aren't the best, maybe about business or our personal lives or where we're going, the goals we've set forward. And the Oz principle is really talking directly to that. So it's, as you see on the front of it, it says getting results through individual and organizational accountability. Because I think accountability, I believe, would you say it starts with you first inside yourself, right? By the way, this is like interactive. Please feel free to join in anytime. So as you're thinking about the Oz principle, you can imagine that yes, this does have to do. Who are the people that we know about Oz? The first time you heard of Oz, beside the Wiz, who that's my age showing there. Who are the people that we know are in search of Oz? Who are those characters?
Jump in, folks.
Yeah. Okay, I'll start out with Toto, right? Toto wasn't looking for anything. He was tag along because he's a dog. Who else was in there? Come on.
Scarecrow, the Scarecrow, the Lion, the Tin Man. Or is that what you're talking about? The characters, right? Of
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
And Dorothy, right?
And Dorothy, the main character.
Yeah, the main character.
Yes.
So they were all looking for something, right? They were all looking for the Tin Man, was looking for a brain. Oh no, he was looking for heart. The lion was looking for courage. The scarecrow was looking for a brain. And Dorothy was looking for her purpose, right? She was looking for, why am I here? What are all these things? What are all these people looking for? And why am I here? So that's sort of the concept of how of how the authors of this book got it going. So the principle right here is the Oz principle defines accountability as a personal choice to rise above one's circumstances and demonstrate the ownership necessary for achieving desired results. So you have to see it, own it, solve it, and you have to do it. So these are the principles that are coming out of this. So when we hear about things in our, for instance, our NAR lawsuit and things like that. Most of us are like, hopefully, because you're on this call, you're looking at how do we change this? How am I going to wrap my head around this, keep my business growing through it and myself growing through it as well. So we actually are seeing it. And I have to say the CEO of EXP, he is showing it to us in a huge, huge way. He's showing it to us in the fact of how EXP is looking at it. They're taking ownership of it in their own way by saying, how are we going to, as a company, lift up and support our agents and help them through this? They've looked at solving it as best they can for what they have the ability to do right now by giving us new forms, scripts, by practice and things like that. And then they want us to do it. They're showing us how to do it. Leah was there last week showing us at Build LA 24 how to do it. So you can see that it's not just us by ourselves, it's our whole company looking to do this as well. And these are the main things I want you to take out of this is the see it, own it, solve it, and do it. So there's two things. We've got above the line thinking, which are steps to accountability. So that is the see it, own it, solve it, do it. And then we have below the line thinking. You can see it's like the wait and see. A lot of people that we know are sort of just like looking at how life and how their business is going to be coming through this new point of what, I've got to learn how to write a buyer broker, a buyer rep agreement now, or why do I have to learn how to do that? The listing agreement is different now, just some things are different, but remember, we're in the practice of real estate too. So some of it is the wait and see. Some people are waiting and seeing how this is going to all pan out. And other people are in confusion about it. Why is it happening? I don't understand. And in our lives, we have those same things that happen to us, right? You can have a relationship that's not working out. You can have changes in your life that come and it's like, why is this happening to me? Why is this, all these things always happen to me? That's because your thinking is not in a place of how am I going to grow through this and go beyond it. So and also this one thing down here, cover your tail, ignore and deny. What other type of thought process is this below the line thinking? Besides the blame game, there's another word for it. It's victimhood, right? Being the victim. Everything happens to me. I'm not, why is this all happening? Why are bad things happening to me? Why did my buyer fall out? Why did the listing, all the different things. Why? Well, when we're asking that, we're not saying, could I have done this differently? Were there some things that I could have done to maybe move it in a different way? Could I have seen it differently? Could I have owned this outcome differently? Now, in some ways, when you're not in full control of a situation, but you're a partner in it, you still have to be in accountability for what your part is in that relationship. And whether it's a business partnership, personal relationship, whatever it is, you've got to see it and own it for yourself, solve it for yourself if that's what it's going to take, and then walk through it and do it. So it's really critical, I think, to make sure our thought process is in the right place, using the words that are correct for above the line accountability. And we're going to see some of that as well as we go through here today.
Tracey, I'm going to stop you 1 second. I love what you're saying because this morning I was on a call and it was very interesting with the group of people because of what you're saying is so accurate. And then we had to stop because there was so much above the line and below the line conversation. And it was about NAR again. And we had to stop the call midway through because there were people who were so much in this below the line conversation of like still blaming and still talking about how we got there. And someone stopped it and said, listen, this is where we are. The past is perfect. It doesn't matter how we got here. There's no changing how we got here. We're just here, right? There's no changing how we got here. This is where we are. So spending all this time on below the line conversation no longer matters. This is where we are. Everything from here has to be above the line, seeing it, owning it, solving it, and doing it. Exactly what you just said, because all of this conversation is no longer relevant, right? It no longer serves anyone. From this point, we're only speaking in this way because all of that is victimhood. And all of this is moving forward and being accountable for what we can do to solve it. So I love exactly what you just said because none of that serves you anymore. All you're doing is staying in victimhood and negativity. Let's move forward in positivity and what we can do to change it. Victimhood is over here. Positivity and solving it is over here. I love that.
And I have to tell you, it takes the same amount of energy to be above the line as it does to be below the line. And so it's definitely worth your while to live above the line. Even your language needs to be above the line. When you start hearing yourself say something, it's like, oh, am I being a victim here or am I owning where I am and in this process right here? So yeah, it's.
I have a question.
Yes.
So what is the line called? What if you are falling into above, or I guess you can't say falling into above, but rising into above, but you're still, you know what I mean?
Victim.
Yeah. So if you're still in the victimhood part of it, it's also working through that, right? Because you're learning to come above the line. And that line is where I would see it as a breakthrough because you're going to start to see things differently. You're going to start to react and respond differently to the way people are talking to you, the way that you're talking to them. You're going to start to move through there. And also, as we go through this talk today, there is a way to move the line down, up and down. Like you can move it. You've got the power. I mean, you are powerful in this place to be able to do that. So that's one of the things that shows growth in you to do it. So Robin, thank you so much for asking that question. That is awesome. Here are our lovely people along the way, right? They're just going on down. Dorothy looks pretty self-assured, but on the inside, she was a little bit afraid as she was going through here. So let's see it above the line. These are some things that when we are going to be in the see it mode and we're looking to get above that line, we want to obtain perspective of others. Meaning, if you're in a work environment, it may be saying, am I seeing this wrong? Can you just give me your perspective of how you're seeing this situation? And I think one of the first things too is when you open yourself to be vulnerable, you're really looking to move yourself above that line, to be in that space of growth, personal accountability, to own it, to solve it, and then to step through it and do it. Being open and candid in your communications is very, very important. I do have 2 children, and when they were little, I remember one time, well, not just one time, several times, with my son, I had to, as his mother, go in there and tell this very active 4-year-old, 5-year-old child that I loved immensely that even I was wrong. I'm sorry, I was wrong in what I did. I should not have responded that way to you. And through our lives of growing up together, he and I, that remains, he's what, 31 today. And our lines of communication are very open and very candid as well. And I think that that's helped in that relationship that I've had with him of, sometimes for a period of time, we might not really want our children in our lives from that 13 to 17 time frame, something like that, right? Or maybe it was just me. But those types of conversations are hard then, but if they're open, they teach them how to be open in their communication as well. So be open to communication of others around you and ask for it. Ask for feedback. And did I respond wrong? Could I have done it differently? Because sometimes our emotion is in front of us and we're we're reacting, we are not responding. And when we react, we're acting out just of with no thought process behind it. It's just like what's risen up in me is coming out of my mouth. And maybe that's not the best thing. When you take a moment to just respond in a way where you've taken the thought process to like wrap your head around it for a minute and then respond to them, it's definitely better that way. And
Tracey.
yes.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just thinking of so many opportunities where this could come into play with a team member. I think it could come into play if you lose a listing appointment, right? Like asking for feedback. How could I have done this better? How could I have earned your business, right? Any of those things that we are often afraid to ask for, but allow us to grow, right? So that you can say, it is hearing the hard things. We're so disappointed in the moment. We're in victimhood because maybe we lost an opportunity and we're upset. But instead, you're asking for feedback so that you can see it, right? We're in that see it phase. And then
Mm-hmm.
we can move on to the next phases. But this is an opportunity to be above the line and ask for that feedback and start that additional growth opportunity. So think about those opportunities, guys, where you see this in your business, not just personal relationships, but in your business relationships and moving to that above the line thinking and growth opportunities.
And I think that's really important, Selena, because as we go in and our listing presentation might need to be updated, or we're going to have to ask some different questions about it, right? Are we going to be offering a buyer concession? Are we going to do these things? We've got to understand, are we delivering that message appropriately? And if we don't get the listing appointment, it's to say, what did we miss, right? How could I have done this better for you? And sometimes it's because we didn't ask there wasn't a question answered, or maybe it is because of pricing or something else that's coming up. But it's best for us to understand how we can do it better. Now, the one thing, when do we always ask for feedback? Usually after we close the transaction, right? I always ask it then because it's like, oh, we accomplished our goal. We've done this. We sold their house and everything. And we ask for them to get that feedback at that time. They say one of the best times you can ask for feedback is when you've just solved a problem during the transaction. Because when you've solved the problem, that's when your value to them is at its highest point. So just remember that. And the way you present that to them is by seeing it. So I'm just going to go on through here, but and hearing hard things. When you hear people say to you, well, I wanted this. You never addressed that in your listing presentation, or you never talked to me about that. Those are things of our learning curve moment is very high then, right? It's very, very high. So, be open to what others are, and you've got to seek it out as well. You've got to seek out this information. You can't just lay below the line and not seek it out. Owning it. Owning it is a critical step because that's the most difficult one, right? When you take on responsibility, that's a tough thing sometimes to say, I was wrong. I didn't do this. There have been times in the practice of my real estate career, it only happened once to me that I had to buy a refrigerator. I'm pretty sure there's some people on here that maybe had to buy a refrigerator, a washer dryer, something like that. It was my fifth transaction, and I was very good at writing the contract and everything. I just left that one critical step off that we wanted that refrigerator. So it did cost me a refrigerator, and I was fine to do it. I never let that happen again, right? You learn it, you own it. You got to, you've got to take care of it. And I have to tell you, that gentleman bought 4 other houses from me. He probably thought he was going to get refrigerator for everyone, but that's the only one I bought for him, the only one. So, and you've got to make that tie between your own actions and the results that we're getting. So that's really important step in owning it, because if you're owning it, but you're not doing anything to change the behavior or the outcome, that's a different thing. That's saying, okay, this is mine, but you're not doing anything with it. So you've got to take the actions to get the results that you're going towards. And the ownership is the responsibility of it all. So especially here, and I believe that during this time, whenever, we have these massive changes like this in our industry, we are going to slip through a hole. We're going to have a step up. We're going to have something, and we're going to have to own it. We're going to have to be responsible for it. We're going to have to clean up the situation and learn from it and know how we solve it the next time and do it better. So we know that we're not perfect. We just know that we can operate in a better way. Any questions around this? Any thoughts?
No, I love that. I think it's going to be, like you said, it's going to be a very important time. And I'm so grateful for the leadership that we have that's guiding us through it. Right. And exactly what Leo said last week, which is we're all going to be in this together because it's such an interesting time. But it's going to be, this is why I tell everyone, and I'm going to say it again, if you're not reading your emails that you're getting from corporate, do it. Okay. And then when we send our emails, we're reiterating what they're sending because we know nobody reads their emails. Those emails that are coming are really, really important. But this is going to be that time where you're just like doing the right things. We know that there are going to be changes. And exactly what you said, Tracey, it's like, he said something very important, Tracey, and I thought it was so great. Everybody's going to have to give themselves grace. Everybody's going to be pivoting. Everyone in the entire industry is going to be pivoting as these changes are happening, and everybody's adjusting, right? But you do have to take ownership, especially like the number of emails that I got in the last week of, are there new forms? I was like, there are new forms. We're all getting the emails. I can't possibly be the only one getting the emails. Okay. I get 9,000 emails and I'm checking the emails. So like, guys, you have to pay attention. And so that's your ownership. Pay attention. You have to take responsibility for paying attention, because if you're skipping that and you're not doing the right things, that is your lack of taking ownership, right?
Definitely.
Take ownership.
Yeah. And remember, this is the practice of real estate. 4 years ago, if I remember correctly, we had to pivot again, right? If you could not work Zoom, how many listing appointments were you going on? 0. Because you couldn't go on an appointment. Or here in California, we couldn't anyways. We could not literally go on an appointment for a while. So yes, so pivoting and taking action for it. And it's okay. Yes, I agree with Selena. We have to have grace with ourselves, learn from it, and move on to the next thing. So in owning it, you've got to be personally invested, acknowledge your involvement in it, creating and maintaining a sense of alignment, meaning that you've got to understand, like, this is what's happened. I've got to stay in this line over here. I've got to learn this better. And that's going to take time to do that. The Tin Man was looking for a heart, right? He was trying to get that sense of alignment for himself. Committing to both your personal and your team's objectives in owning it. That's the other thing. You've got to take it in personally. You've got to really own it. And it is real estate, it is business, yet our name is always on it. Your name is on the bottom of that contract. How the transaction comes together and all the things within it, that's yours. Making that come together with your buyer, making it come together with your seller. That's how you own that. So make sure you're personally invested in the fact that you're growing in the newness of and the nuances of what we're doing in our business today, and how your team is developing as well. I think that's very, very important to keep your team members cohesively moving in the right direction and educated in everything that's coming down. As a team leader, that I would say that. These are some questions you can ask yourself about owning it. Am I pretending not to know about the impact of my role and the outcomes that I'm getting? That to me is probably the most important question, because I don't know the word pretending. It's more, am I not taking responsibility about the outcomes and my role in certain situations? So that's definitely something you've got to look long and hard within yourself to say, did I do this right? How am I going to change this? Do I need to speak with someone? I might have to apologize. Oh my gosh, how hard is that going to be if you have to apologize to someone? I made a mistake. It's hard to say those words, that I've made a mistake to somebody. That's the vulnerability of deep ownership and growth. If you can say, I'm sorry, I need to apologize to you, that is taking something on. What are the extra steps I could have taken next time when faced with similar circumstances? Hopefully you've taken note of it. And maybe you journal and you write things down. That's a place where if you've written it down and you reread it and you write it down for 30 days and you read it every day for 30 days, it's going to change your mindset around that. And it's pretty sure your ownership to it and changing that behavior and whatever happened in that situation is not going to come up again. You're going to handle it in a much different way. And what advice would I give someone else about how to move forward when faced with the same set of conditions? Like Rick did, he, you know, he would talk to anybody about anything. And the reason he would say, call me, is because there wasn't a situation, I don't think, that he'd never not been in, right? He had this thing. I remember talking to him like, oh my gosh, I did this. He goes, that is nothing. I've done that 1,000 times. And here's what I learned out of that. And here's how I've grown out of it. I'm glad I was a quicker learner, not having to do it 1,000 times like he had said he did. Yet it's just a way in which you can learn from other people. If you see someone, a mentor or anybody that you respect, ask them like, how did you get through this? That's what they're there for. That also gives them value to being in your life and to helping you to learn to own it and supporting you in that way as well.
And guys, the other side of that is when you learn something like that and you provide that to someone else, you're giving them value. Like think about the opportunities when you are learning, and you are taking that ownership of what you did, and think about where we are in the organization that we're a part of, or in as realtors, and you're giving that back to someone else. Okay, you're providing value to them. You're giving back all the time. This is what I learned from what just happened. Okay, there's so much from that you can provide, especially as we're moving forward. And you don't realize how much opportunity you give to someone else when you learn from a mistake that you might have made. There's always an opportunity to give back to someone in this industry of like, this just happened to me. Has that ever happened to you? Let me tell you what I learned from it. Like it can be the smallest thing and it can be so impactful so that someone else doesn't make the same mistake. You have no idea. It can be very, very helpful.
Exactly. And I am being a coach, I've been a mentor, but I am coached and I have mentors. So I don't want to be the smartest one in the room ever. And that's not hard for me to do. I am not the smartest one. I'm hanging out with those that are smarter than I am. Those are the people that I have so much respect for, and I want to learn from them because they've grown through it. They've done it. They've solved it. They've owned it. They've gone through all these steps and they've got to another plane. And it's like, I want my line to be moving up. I want that line for me in certain situations to be on that move to where it's going up. So definitely always, if you know someone that you respect in the industry or on your team, wherever, ask them. They will be thankful that you've asked them because they have some information they want to share. Solving it, constantly asking, what else can we do? This is something I think in our industry that we forget to ask along the way. And I see transactions as we have a problem here, right? Someone has a problem. It's not a bad problem. They need to sell their house for some reason, right? And wherever they're going, we're going to help them to get to that place. All along the way, it's like, we know that moving can be very stressful for whatever reason. It doesn't matter what it is. What else can I do for you? Is there anything else that I can do to make this better for you, right? Helping them to just keep moving forward in that. Ask yourself, what else can I do better in this situation? Redefining your boundaries constantly. This is a fluid situation that we're in, right? I'm sure we haven't seen the last of our contracts that we're going to have. We're going to have a tweak to the buyer rep agreement. I'm sure we'll have a tweak to our listing agreement, I'm sure. So these are things where the boundaries are fluid. The terms of these contracts are fluid. We have to be constantly looking at them and sort of forward thinking of where else could this go? How else could we be doing this better? And truthfully, I think the more impact that you want to have in this situation is give your feedback to the people within our industry and within our company. They're looking for what are the hangups. They've written these great contracts, yet using them is different, right? So we need to be able to use them. And by using them, we're going to refine that process even better and solve it. Creatively dealing with obstacles. That is something that we have to do all the time in our industry, I believe. Things can change on a dime. We can't get hung up on the path that we were on. We've got to be able to pivot and move in the other direction to be able to solve the issue and stay focused on the results. I mean, how many of us have had contracts that have fallen out before? Right? Yeah, it happens. It's a normal thing. We don't like it when it does. It's normal. And what do you have to do? You just have to say, it's all right. We're going to pick it up. We're going to move forward. We're going to find somebody else to come in here and buy this because we're still on getting this property sold. We're still on moving ahead in this way. So stay focused on your results too, and know that you're working towards getting it solved. The solve it step can be a difficult one because you continue the process above the line. If you're below the line, getting to the solve it place may seem miles away. So when you're in victimhood, how am I going to solve this when all this stuff is being dumped on me? That's why it's so important that you look outward and respond effectively in seeing it, owning it, solving it, and doing it. You've got to do it and you've got to see it in that order, actually. You're not going to solve it if you haven't owned it. There's no skipping around in the way this works. It's got a purpose and a reason why it's going in this direction. So, and the attitude and the solve it attitude and behavior stem from continually asking questions. What else can I do? Is there anything more that I could do for you? So I think these are things that we should be asking all the time with our clients. When you send them, I don't know if you send out Friday updates and emails, is there anything else I can do? Is there another place where you need my help? Is there anything you're looking to solve? How can I help you solve that? So in Friday updates to your clients, this is where you can continually ask that question and to keep bringing that to them. For yourself, you need to continually ask yourself, what else can I do? If it's on a team, you're working within a team, there are certain responsibilities and roles that you have. Am I doing this to the best of my ability in this role as the listing partner, as the admin, as a buyer's agent? What else can I do to make this better? And then there's doing it, right? You're reporting proactively, you're showing up, you're following up, you're doing the things that you say that you're going to do. It starts to show, right? It starts to come out in that way. And you measure your progress toward achieving the intended results. What would we call that? Measuring your progress with intended results. I'm sure there's something that we've heard before that we measure, a measuring tool.
Daily habits, though.
Yes. Ding, ding, ding. Daily
Cozy for the win. Cozy for the win.
I was just thinking about it because I was like, oh my God, I got to update my daily habits.
Thank you, Cozy.
The reporting proactively, that's a DSH. The relentlessly following up, that is your lead, that's your lead follow-up, right? That's your ABC lead follow-up on a weekly basis. It's saying you're going to do it. And then putting in your results so that it can be measured. We can't change something if we don't have a measurement like a flat line to say, here's all the data that's happening, but how are we going to change it? If we don't have anything in there, we can't change it. We don't know what we need to change. So this is showing like, hey, I've accepted this. I've seen it. I've owned it. I'm doing it. I am doing it. So that is the part. And to me, putting in your results into something that is shared with others, that's a vulnerability place too, right? Because it's like, I didn't do so well today or yesterday or this week or whatever it is. It's like, yet if you are that open with the people on your team, they're able to help you and say, hey, I'm going to do 5 calls today. Why don't you do 5? And I'm going to call you when I'm done. Right. It's just like that. It's where you can get that activity in helping others, and you're doing it and you're solving it. So yes, Cozy, you get the prize today for the DSH.
Yay.
So here are some just above the line and below the line thinking. You can just, do any of you, do you see where you don't have to answer? Well, you can answer if you want to. Have you been on either side of this before?
Yes, I've been below the line. I feel like a lot more than above the line, and that's just my own mindset that I'm still dealing with and working through. And I have a difficulty in trying to put myself in other people's shoes. I think one way and I think my way. So I have a hard time telling, or I'm working through it right now. I'm trying to understand or get better at understanding other people's perspective on things or how they look at things, and not always feeling like I think I see things differently, and what I think I see is not there. And I know I had this conversation with Rick before because it is something that I'm still trying to work through, but it's hard for me to put myself in somebody else's shoes because I don't know how you think. I just know how I think, and I know how I see things and how it feels and looks to me. So I'm trying to work through that because I know that I'm misunderstanding what other people are perceiving or thinking, and I don't know how to think the way other people think because I don't have their mindset. So I'm trying to work with that. That's a battle for me. And so I feel like a victim sometimes too because I feel like, well, why is everybody else doing this? And when I try to do the same things, I'm not getting the same type of results, or whatever. So it's just, and I know I'm not in denial or anything like that. It's just something that I'm still trying to work through personally for myself, that I really want to change. I really want to be able to not be so judgmental on myself or so hard on myself, and try to get the perspective of other people. I think I'm not around people enough or something so that I can kind of see that some people are pretty much the same. Nobody's really. I'm thinking way too much. I think I internalize a lot, and I'm just bashing myself today. But I think I'm more below the line. I'm trying to get above the line a little bit more. I want to think more positively. I've been buying books. I'm trying to make time to read these books, but I'm really trying to do some self-reflection and really change my whole mindset with how I think and perceive things. I'm done.
I think that that's great that you're putting it out there saying, I am working on this, and we're all a work in progress, right? Because we're all there doing something. Um, I'm not to say that I don't get below the line as well, right? I've been there, and it's not to say, oh, I just live on this side of the line. That doesn't happen all the time. This is a process for you in your mind to understand, like, wait a second. And you're doing that. You're having that internal reflection of, maybe I need to do this in a different way. And one of the best ways we can do that is to ask questions of people. If we let them talk and get their perspective on it, then it's not us in our own head saying, oh, that's why they're behaving this way, or they're acting this way, or whatever it is, or why they've backed off, or things like that. It's not about us. It's just they could have been going through something. I've always said when in follow up with people too, those C's, they don't ever go from the C to the B to the A. They're just a C, and all of a sudden they're an A plus, double plus, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, what happened? And I remember when I first started doing lead follow-up years ago. And I remember like I just said, these people are not picking up their phone. They're not responding to my emails, da da da. And I had a manager, God bless his heart, and he came and he told me, he said, Tracey, this is not you. There's something going on in their life as to why they're not responding. And it's more important than what you're giving them. And I was like, oh, okay. He goes, just continue to do it. When they're done with whatever they're going through, they're going to reach out to you. And I have always kept that because it was the fact that they were going through something pretty terrible and they were caught up in that. They couldn't see outside of that. There was nothing I could have done for them anyway. And I just kept sending the cards, making the calls, sending the email, doing the things. And sure enough, that person after 8 months came back out and was like, oh, we're ready to buy a house. I was like, oh, and it was the C that had been a C for like years. And then I lost them for 8 months, or I thought that I did. And then they were like, they'd just gone through something terrible. And then they were ready to move. So sometimes it's because we're not seeing them for where they are. And that's asking the questions. And I'm thrilled that you're looking at yourself and in that growth, because it's gonna mean a lot to you as you process through this, as we all process through it, because none of us are not going back and forth. Don't think that at all.
No, I love what you shared, Cozy. And I think even in with all the personal work I did last year, the personal development work, I mean, sometimes I stop and I count the five and because all of the workman coaches have been trained on the Oz principle. And I'll stop and I'll count the five and I'll be like, below the line, above the line, below the line, above the line. And like I'll stop and I'll be like immediately. And like even with my kids, same thing. Nico is 13 years old and he will say something and he'll catch his tone and he'll go, ooh, that was like, hmm. And I love the fact that we've gotten exactly what Tracey said. When you teach your kids that same level of relationship of like, where are we on this line? Like, was this here or was this here? Right. And you can catch that with yourself over time, but give yourself grace because everybody has it. We have a lot going on in our industry right now. As he said it last year, last week, Leo Pareja said last year was the worst year in real estate in 30 years, guys. It was the worst year in real estate in 30 years. Give yourself grace. And we all have to give ourselves grace in every day. Everybody has stuff. Everybody has stuff. Okay. The important part is to just recognize for a moment, and sometimes it does take you a moment to stop and say, is what I'm thinking or what I'm saying, is it here or is it here? Because words have power. And when you speak them out loud, you just gave them power. And even when you're thinking them to yourself or about whatever just happened, you just gave them power. Okay. So when we lose a transaction or whatever that is, a contract falls out, don't fall into victimhood about that. Like we just saw it happen with Glenn in our team, right? He like had one that fall out and he was like, I'm getting that puppy right back in. Like he didn't even give it the space to believe it was not coming back in, right? That is a mindset. That is above the line. He was like, it's coming back in. I don't really care. And I was the same way. I was like, right, I'm not even deleting it out of the transaction tracker. I was like, it's manifesting that puppy right back in there, right? That's above the line, right? Below the line is like, oh, God, life sucks. I don't know how that happens. Oh, it's terrible. That buyer sucks. They backed out. That's below the line. Above the line is like, magic is gonna happen. It's going back in. I don't care. Like that is examples, right? Victimhood is down here. Above the line is up here. Like magic is gonna happen. Somehow we're gonna pull from all the magic that can happen because you're solving it, right? That's when the mindset shift starts to happen. That's when you believe 100% you will find a way to solve it because all things are possible. All things are possible if you truly believe it, right? You will find a way to solve it. That's where, and I do encourage you to read this book.
Yeah, the
I
book
do
is
encourage you to.
The
Yeah.
book is amazing. And remember, mindset is like a muscle. When you first start working out, how does your body feel when you first start working out?
I wouldn't know.
Sore.
Like, even if you walk 10,000 steps a day, people weren't doing that. And then it became a thing. And people were like, oh my God, my hip hurts. My knee is this. My ankle is blah, blah, whatever. And it was because they hadn't been doing it. Yet then they started walking and they were just like, oh, this is a breeze. Now I'm up to 20,000 steps, because when you're not used to it, the muscle, when you're lifting weights or whatever, there's actually the tearing of the muscle and the growth of that, right? That is not nice. That hurts. That hurts. Yet it will heal itself. It'll be stronger and you're able to go to that next level of doing something, right? It's the same thing with the mindset. It's you growing that mindset to where I've got to think of this differently. I need to look at this through a different lens, and I've got to continue to do it. One of the things too is I know we had rubber bands, and whenever we had the below the a victim hood thing, bang, you snap that little thing right on your finger, on your the tenderest part right there. Not very nice, right? And it's one of those things that it's just like, and to this day, if I get a tingling on my arm now because I don't wear it anymore, but I get the tingling like, ooh, no, that's not, like, my body has a physical reaction to that now. So it is a process. And the fact of the matter is, as long as we're on this side of the ground, we are growing and we are all in a process of developing ourselves and relationships in our business, growing in our business, and developing that as well.
You
Robin
were
looks like she
saying,
has something.
Yeah.
yes, it kind of really struck me, building a muscle to how I react, and I'm thinking, where in my life have I ever had the opportunity to build that muscle? And I realized that I have, in a way, built that muscle when I'm driving and somebody's being really aggressive and they're right up on my butt. And it's like, it's like, sometimes I get so irritated, I'll slow down, on like a residential street, I'll slow down really slow and go over to the side and let them go around just to be, a little. But on the freeway, I think I've been thinking that, well, I have thought, and I still do think that they must have an emergency. Maybe there's somebody in the hospital that they need to get there quick. Maybe they're late for a really important appointment. Maybe they're baby. So feeling months can go by without knowing anything, and all of a sudden, but that I think a little sweet spot for me is that we all wind up in the same place. We all wind up at the same traffic light. It's like, just, how do I want to show up to that point where I need to stop and then move forward with that? So yeah.
Exactly, Robin. And these are as you start to look at that and start to see other people's lives through their eyes, it changes our perspective of who they are and how we need to be living our lives as well, I believe. Moving above the line, these are some ways, these are just great things. If you're internalizing stuff, you need to go, if you're externalizing it, you need to go to internalizing it. Because internalizing it is seeing it, right? And taking ownership of it, taking that accountability, doing the job, go from doing the job to achieving the result. I think that in our industry, it's not doing the job, it's achieving the result. And you know what? I've had listings, that we've canceled listings, and it's like, oh no. And it was just the fact that we'd gotten to a point and it wasn't working. I did not lose those people as clients. They came back when they were in a different place and I was in a different place, and we achieved the result. And it's just a different type of way to look at things. Collaborating is huge. Working in a silo is only you. Only you. When I think of working in a silo, I just think of it, out in the Midwest, a grain silo. It's just tall, standing out there and all by itself, not doing anything, housing some grain, I guess. Engaging the hearts and minds of people rather than telling people what to do. ask questions. You've got to ask questions of people. So these are some ways that you can start to see that you're going to be moving into that above the line mindset. Below the line, here's just, I don't even like this slide at all, but I put it in here because I think it, to me, and I always say, if you're finger pointing, remember 3 of those fingers are pointing back at you. So you're giving one out, but these 3 are coming right back at you. So just remember that when you're doing that. So
I've never heard that. I love that.
if you look at it, that's what's happening, right? See? Those 3 are coming right back at you. So if you ignore and deny stuff and you think the problem's going to go away, I guarantee you it is not. It is not going to go away. So own it earlier rather than later. Confusion, tell me what to do. You actually expected me to deliver this. What? You know, these are just all the different things. When you're running from something and you're covering your tail, you are definitely not being in a space of above the line. Just know if you're hiding something, that's not good. You've got to come out and let people help you and see it. Wait and see. Things will get better as the year progresses. I think that that's what people think about, uh, you know, prospecting. Oh, it's going to get better. Everyone's busy right now. They're on summer vacation. Oh, they're getting ready for the, graduation. Oh, it's almost Christmas. Well, we could have an almost everything happening 12 years a month, right? My God, we have a special day every day for something. I don't know what today's day is, but I'm pretty sure it's something day.
Potato chip day.
Yeah, potato chip in my sandwich day or whatever it is. So when you start to see yourself looking at these things, it's not my job. I didn't do that. It's not my job. I have to tell you that as a listing agent, one of the things that kills me is when I have some of my other friends, they're like, well, I'm like, are you going to go meet the appraiser? They're like, well, that's not my job. I was like, it is your job. It's everybody's job to go meet the appraiser because if I'm the listing agent, it is my job to make sure that thing is going to appraise as much as it can, right? It's my job to make sure that I just hand off the information that I have, tell him that I've talked to people, let him do his job. But it is my job to be there to do that for him. If I'm the listing agent, it doesn't matter. And I always tell the buyer's agent, I'll be there for the appraiser. Don't worry. So, but don't say it's not my job. We're all in an environment where if we do our job and we might have to do somebody else's job on the other side, that's okay. We're all working towards the end result. So if you see yourself caught in this, just know you need a little snap your wrist and get on the other side of that line. This is just going through it again, externalizing to internalizing. People inherently struggle, however, with the ability to define themselves within a problem. That to me is very important because we want to disassociate ourselves from a problem so much of the time, like it's not my fault. I didn't do this. I didn't create this. When truthfully, it could have been set up a different way to where we wouldn't be here, right? So that's one of the biggest things for me is people inherently struggle, however, with the ability to define themselves within a problem. Think about that for yourself. The blame game, we've talked about that. And energy of blaming somebody else is crazy. Now, one of the things that is part of this is the experiences, beliefs, actions, and results that we have in our lives, right? So this is the results pyramid in the fact that when we get to a result, it's because we've walked through this process. So we all come from different backgrounds, right? I would say we've all are collectively, however many people are on this call, each one of us has a different experience of how we see life and how we live our life. We also have beliefs around that because we've seen it, we've grown up with that, our parents taught us, or whoever, our family members, or those that we were around. We've developed beliefs as we've gotten along in life. And then we have the actions above that. The actions are we take our experience and our beliefs and concerning a problem or something like that, we put these actions into place. We create the actions that we're going to do from who we are, and we achieve the the results. So where people get caught up is if their beliefs and their experiences are too difficult, they don't have a good self-worth or value or how they see themselves, they get stuck here and they can't move up. Does that make sense? They can't move up into the action, into the results. They're dealing with, this is not my fault, or I didn't do that. I didn't say that. I don't know what to do here. They changed the rules and now they want this to be different, right? That's where people get stuck here as well. Now, that's not the same as below the line, but in some ways it is. And that's why they've put this in here. So take into account those experiences and beliefs in your life. How have you as an individual grown in your life through your experiences and beliefs? And has it changed your action and results and those around you? So that's how I would look at this to move through this. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts around this at all?
What was that kind of like little exercise at the end that you said, you know, to some questions to ask myself? What were those? Some of those?
The question to ask yourself is like, why is this happening to me? Like, why is this happening? And is it happening to others? And if so, how is it that I can move through this? And our beliefs, how many of us grew up with beliefs of certain things? Like it could be, you know, beliefs of like, this is just how things are. And when I look at our world today, my world is drastically different than the world that I grew up in. My belief in all these, in, you know, faith and just, relationships and people and things like that. I mean, a lot of it for me growing up, and I grew up as a pastor's child, I'll give you that. So now all of you are probably going, oh my gosh. But I grew up in a very, belief was all around me all the time. Yet, you know, my father, what he did was he's like, you've got to experience this on your own. You've got to decide what some of these experiences are going to be and how you're going to have these beliefs around yourself. And I appreciate that because I was able to experiment with some things and thoughts that I had around the way I wanted to live my life. So it was, but these things, your belief and your experience, they do culminate in your actions and results. You can change, you might not be able to change your experiences, but you can change your view of the experience. That's the thing that you can do now when you look back at that. And that helps you to move forward into the action and results piece. Here's another.
Tracey, this has been, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. This is just reinforces, drives, and produces. It's just sort of that right there. It's fine. Procrastination. We can send you these slides too, if you want to.
Yeah, I can post them in our free Friday coaching call drive portion that we have on resources, guys. Oh, I love this one, surviving or thriving. That's one of my favorite, moving from surviving into thriving. Guys, we are going to wrap because it is after 11 and I try to stop on time. This was incredible. First of all, I think mindset is so impactful. I was on a call earlier today and it was so much about the mindset of agents right now. So such an incredible conversation about how people are so in their own mind at the moment, right? With everything that's going on. And it really does start there. It really does start there. And every day, every morning, you wake up and you decide what that day is going to look like for you every day. And it continues all throughout the day. So, Tracey, I really do want to thank you for this because I think it's so impactful. And remember that every decision, every thought that you think of, you have to decide, is it going to be above the line or below the line? And sometimes you have to course correct all day long. You just course correct. And I love the idea of going back to the if you have to put the rubber band on there, guys, that is something that does effectively work. And over time, it does train you to just think through, like, am I above the line, below the line? And just go think through that. And it can really change the way that you think. So thank you again, Tracey.
That was just beautifully eloquent and so calm. I appreciate that. very much. Thank you.
Thank you again,
guys.
everybody, for taking the time today. So appreciate you all. Have a happy rest of the Friday.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
See you, Anthony. Bye.